Welcome back to the Georgia Show. I'm here with my trusty partner, Bill Quinn, and we've got a lot of info to bring to you today. How are you doing, Bill?
I am doing well, treading water on the waves as they lap onto the shore.
So true. I just rolled off a 2-day tour with Secretary of War Hegseth. Extremely important, visiting the factories that are rearming America at scale and in a way that is not usual, not normal. There's a term I learned. I was an aeronautical engineering student at the Air Force Academy, and we learned about the skunk works back in the 50s and 60s, where Lockheed would have people out in the desert in trailers testing missiles. Well, it's happening again, and we're going to talk about the desert rats at one of these companies. Fascinating, just an amazing time to be an American, and I came away from that trip extremely optimistic. I was telling Bill, just very, very positive about what's happening inside of our government. Gave me a good shot in the arm. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Iran. Before we get into all that, and I want to ask Bill what he's got lined up. Check out our no ad subscriptions. We're getting a lot of good feedback. We brought on a lot of good listeners and viewers over the last few weeks. Really from our multiple Bannon exposures. By the way, I'll be on Bannon again at 10 a.m. in the morning talking about the Arsenal of Freedom tour. And our no ad subscriptions are extremely important. You can go to my.cdm.press. That's my.cdm.press and sign up for them. $10 a month or $100 a year. You get access to all of our content with no advertisements. And people absolutely love that. I had a wonderful email from a gentleman that maybe I'll read later in the show about that. New sponsor, Avelo Airlines, and I'll probably do a live read a little later in the show, but just really good feedback from our relationship with them, and we'll talk about Avelo. But Bill, what do you have today?
Well, we'll take a look at a few little vignettes of things happening. There's so much that we won't be able to go into depth on many of the topics. We'll point people in the right direction so that they can try to come up to speed on some of the things that are happening. But I want to make sure that we call out what we're seeing and what it means and what it probably doesn't mean. That's very important as we get into this next, I think I'll call it the next phase, because we're going to see some stuff that will cause, I think, some people to become a certain level of uncertainty and so forth. But if you recognize what's going on, it will be much more comfortable as we go. And I think that's important. We'll also hear from Garland Favorito and perhaps Tamara Favorito at the half hour. There's some interesting initiatives that they are a part of. And as more comes out, as more is recognized regarding our elections, especially here in Georgia, we wanted to go back and make sure that we recognize the work that VoterGA and Garland and his team and Tamara and their team have done. And I suspect we're going to see a lot more proven, shown, demonstrated as we go into the next weeks and probably months. So we'll look forward to a great conversation with Garland and perhaps Tamara.
Excellent. Let me just do a quick live read for Avelo here. If you're looking for a smarter, easier way to travel, Avelo Airlines is here to make flying feel simple again. With affordable fares, nonstop flights, and a refreshingly smooth experience from the moment you book, Avelo is changing the way people think about air travel. Avelo keeps things simple. No hidden fees, no confusing rules, just straightforward service and friendly crew members who care about getting you where you want to go. That makes a big difference. I've noticed just a friendly smile and not an angry, flight attendant makes a big difference. Whether you're heading to the beach, visiting family, or planning your next adventure, Avelo offers convenient nonstop flights to some of your most popular destinations like Florida, the Carolinas, Puerto Rico, and more. Avelo is committed to giving customers more choice, more value, and a travel experience that feels effortless. So if you're ready for a better way to fly, make your next trip on Avelo. Book now at aveloair.com. That's aveloair.com. Okay, Bill, let's get rolling. Thank you.
All right. Well, I know that you had an incredible week, and I wanted to see if you could share some of the experiences that began early week and in a setting that few have ever experienced, and especially not press. So could you take us a little bit through some of those, please?
Sure. It was a 2-day trip, and the purpose was a continuing leg of the Department of War's Arsenal of Freedom tour. And it is essentially rearming America. If you're a student of history like we are in the past 5 years, 10 years, you know that America has spent most of its weapons in Ukraine and is badly under stocked as far as weapon stores are concerned, missile interceptors, cruise missiles, Hellfire missiles, attack missiles, all kind of things, drones that we simply just don't have, artillery rounds. So we cannot fight a war right now of any length of time. So the Department of War is aware of that, as in Trump is, and Trump is aware as well. And they are really moving to change that and to bring back American manufacturing. That's the most thing I got. The biggest thing I got from this was that American, smart Americans, only Americans working in American factories with only American products are creating some amazing things, and they're about to scale globally. I was flown on the Doomsday Plan, the E4B, I think is the nomenclature. There's only 4 of them, and they exist to be a flying command post during times of nuclear war. And fascinating aircraft. I can't talk about what's on it, but well treated by the Department of War. And I got to see Secretary Hegseth work out with some ROTC cadets at UCLA Stadium at 5 a.m. I got to, we're going to cut a video of that. Maybe I'll play it on the next show, but we're way behind. There's multiple speeches at multiple factories, and the 3D printing and the robotics and the just seat of the pants engineering out in the desert. I'm writing an article right now about the desert rats who are living in trailers in the desert, developing new cruise missiles that will leapfrog Russia and China, and they're going to field them in 2027. Just an amazing, amazing story. And we're going to put that out on armedforces.press later today. But also got to see the secretary swear in a bunch of new recruits, which was fascinating, and just a great experience. And we hope to, and we know we'll have more of those as part of the Pentagon press corps here at CDM. And and we're going to be critical too. I asked a lot of tough questions, and they were responsive. And I think they appreciate honest, tough questions. They just don't want the gotcha questions and trying to get leaks of classified information and that type of thing. So I've got a speech, Bill. It's about 6 minutes at Divergent Technologies, a father and son company. The father and son company is Divergent, but they also have Zinger automobiles. So if you've got $2.5 million to spare and buy one of these, I think the fastest hypercars in the world, you can check out their site. They make them bespoke one at a time. But the factory was full, and just amazing, amazing automobiles, 3D printed, most of them by American technology. And they're transferring that to the Department of Defense. So here is Secretary Hegseth and the father and son combo running Divergent Technologies in Los Angeles.
A great pleasure today. We have the great honor as a company to be joined by our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. Mr. Secretary, it's an honor to have you here. Sincerely, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you very much, Kevin, Lucas. Just incredible what you built, and it was a no-brainer for us. We're doing a couple-month-long Arsenal of Freedom tour, and the idea is to look out into the eyes and into the factory floors and emergent companies and tell you that without what you're building, without the capabilities and the way that you're pushing to provide the best, our warfighters won't have the advantage in the next conflict. Full stop. Like, either you succeed right here as patriots in this country, or our warriors will not, or we will have an adversary that outpaces us. And so our team here at OSW looked around the country and said, where are the companies like Divergent who are on the cutting edge, on the cusp of pushing the envelope of what's possible? Innovation, competition, scale, speed, cost-effective, all the attributes that we need in order to win on the modern battlefield. And so I've You have a lot of great advocates in Washington, D.C., who have a lot of great things to say about you and what you're doing. So much so that we said, hey, when we get out to California, we got to come out and see these guys. See what they can do. And I say that as someone who has the advantage of not caring one bit which defense contractor wins. I didn't come from that world. I don't live in that world. I'm not from a big contract, small contract, doesn't matter. All I care about, all our department cares about, all the President of the United States cares about is who can do it the best, the fastest, most lethal, the cheapest, given the most options for the warfighter. That's it. And our job is to get the bureaucracy out of the way so that anybody can compete and win. The best ideas, the best innovation, fastest, most capable, you are going to win in President Trump's Pentagon. That's the only baseline we want to set. So keep pushing that envelope. Keep innovating, keep iterating, keep pushing those ideas to us about how we can flatten the competition, rip out the bureaucracy. I don't know if you know this, but the Pentagon is just one giant bureaucracy. But we told them at a speech I gave recently at Fort McNair called the Arsenal of Freedom that we are fighting a war of attrition against the Pentagon bureaucracy, and we intend to win that war. And that's not to say we don't appreciate what legacy primes have done for our country. There's incredible platforms, incredible systems, weapons, ships, subs, missiles, fighters and tankers, you name it. Incredible American corporations have built those things, and we are grateful for that. My sons and daughters are going to need that, and so are yours. But we also need the next generation of those companies that come alongside and compete with them, that make them better, that add to them, that accelerate that innovation. That's what this company and others like them look like. So we're not here on this Arsenal of Freedom tour to pick winners and losers. It's not my job. We got an army of teams that will evaluate that and determine. Our job is to motivate you to keep going, to say that we need you as patriots of this nation to keep pushing that envelope, to give our warfighters what they need in that next fight. Our adversaries are watching what we do right now. If we're too bloated and too slow and too wedded to the past, then we're going to lose. And all I know is America doesn't lose. So this tour is about you. I don't know what that outfit is with that shield on, but it's about what you do. Hard hats, aprons, welders, machines, techs, the ones doing the quality control. All of those are a part and parcel of that Arsenal of Freedom. We don't win without that. We don't win without these big old brains that figure this stuff out. And with all the skill sets that all of you have adding to it, that's the competitive edge. That's what will give us that advantage in that moment, so that whatever that next generation of that beautiful B-2 goes downtown wherever it needs to go on behalf of the American people, that whatever that next generation helicopter or missile system is able to go, I don't know, to some South American country like Venezuela and go grab an indicted individual when no one else thought we could. No other country on the planet can do what the United States military can do. And I'll be damned if on my watch and the President Trump's watch, we don't keep it that way. And you guys are the reason, you men and women are part of the reason why we'll be able to do that. So thank you for what you do. Thank your families on our behalf. You are part of the American-made industrial base. American-made, American manufacturing. That was part of the goal of why I know you started this company, is to create a renaissance of American manufacturing. That's what President Trump is committed to. It's what the War Department is committed to, and you are on the front lines of making it happen. So Divergent, God bless you. Thanks for having us. Keep going. Thank you.
So, Bill, a few things on that. You saw the workers. It was very motivating for the workers, and all-American workforce, by the way, making very smart guys. I mean, just you see them motivation. You see them like working extra hours, turning wrenches, 3D printing, checking things. I mean, it's just fascinating, the motivation there. This was a company that Charlie Kirk invested in, so you can see the dynamics there. And the other company, one of the other companies we went to, Castilian, I'll give you an example. They're making a new cruise missile called the Blackbeard to be fielded in about a year. And the current copies or capability that is out there is about $4 million a copy. They're going to produce this for less than 400,000 a copy and scale it up to the thousands. So fascinating. And I was just really happy and honored to be there.
Wow. What an amazing day. So I have two things. One, I think just today or in the last couple of days, the Department of Labor announced a program that falls directly in line with this notion of putting America back first in manufacturing. It is a national apprenticeship program that will tie together educators, companies, and ostensibly students and others that want to become part of something more than they might be able to achieve based on what they've been able to do in education so far. Fascinating program. My understanding, it will launch truly, I believe, in the April-May timeframe, and will overlap the many of the renewed celebrations, if you will, wrapped around America 250. So really fascinating. And then the other piece was, I'm not going to let you get out of here without acknowledging this trip that you went on. So I wanted folks to be able to see this plane that you were up in.
Oh, okay.
That is the, as you say, the E-4B night watch. Landing at LAX. And most people have never actually seen it because they normally fly out of military airports, usually in the center of the country, is my understanding. But to have it land at LAX and so forth in full view of press and everything else was fascinating. So must have been fun. You didn't try to tuck your way into the cockpit, did you?
Yeah, we got a tour of the whole aircraft, or at least most of it.
Did you really? Wow.
Fascinating, I have to say. But that is off the record, I should say.
Not anymore, it's not.
Well,
anyway,
congratulations.
Yes. That was fascinating.
Well, yes. So where do you want to go from here?
Well, let's talk. For many years, you have supported the initiatives of the people in Iran, those trying to fight for renewed independence, freedom from the stern grip of those who have been running Iran for many years. And they seem to be moving in what appears to be a challenging and in some ways violent direction, but it does seem to be making progress, perhaps. I wanted to get your feeling as to what's happening there and what the next things to be watching are. I've got a short video of some of the things going on in the last.
Why don't you play that
48
and I'll
hours.
talk about it. Go ahead.
Okay, here we go. Now there were a number of reports that said that the ruling regime had turned out lights in the city, trying to mask many of the things that were going on, so you couldn't have, for example, aerial photos or high level photos of the massive amount of crowds that were out protesting and attempting to apparently take control. But people got away from that by having their own lights, turning on their cameras, turning on their phones, and being able to show that they were out in the streets. So what are you hearing from your contacts?
Yes, we've had contacts on the ground in Iran with the resistance movements for several years, for about 7 years now. And we've been reporting on it heavily. I even wrote a book on it, Paying the Price, The Untold Story of the Iranian Resistance. If you want to know about that movement, there's no better way to learn. It's available anywhere books are sold, and at historyofbooks.com is where it was published. But this is a reiteration. It's a rinse repeat of multiple other uprisings the country has had. And there's one difference, is that the Trump administration is supporting this one. In the past, the administrations of the U.S. have not supported this because they favored negotiating or making a deal with the mullahs. And there has been a global campaign with the Iranian Ministry of Intelligence and the State Department and others to come against the resistance movements in the press and call them all kind of names. And you can make your own decision as to why that is. But this time it's different. These are organic protests, though. These youth have no future. I was on Bannon the other day talking about half the country, 50% of the population has no reliable supply of fresh water. And that's because they are moving water to the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the oligarchy, for their plants and their economic ventures. And this is an oligarchy essentially raping the country. And the youth are just tired of it, and they want a new future. Of course, it's being accelerated this time by different intelligence agencies. And I see, a struggle for who's going to take power going forward. But my hope is the Iranian people will be that decision maker. And we're going to stay on it and report on it in depth as we have now for years.
Okay, fascinating. So you mentioned this is organic, meaning it's the people and their will, their wishes for many years now coming and incenting them to get involved and make this happen. One of the things that I wanted to make sure we talk about is that's this notion of organic versus fomented is going to be important in the coming days, I believe, because we are seeing continued cases where there appears to be forces, we'll name a few, George Soros and Tides and, George Soros Open Society, perhaps other factions of the WEF, we don't know. But paying people, incenting people, as we heard weeks ago, the Riot Inc. groups trying to fight ICE and their progress in places like Minnesota and others around the country. This is not, and there are people that will tell you, oh gosh, this is the start of a civil war. Civil wars are people against themselves. This is outside influences paying people to be involved, it appears. And I believe you'll see more documents that come out in the coming days. I've seen some that came out in the last 24 hours showing instructions, if you will, literally an instruction pages for people that were going to be involved in these things, telling them what to do and what not to do, and signifying that they were in fact getting paid for some of these things. So you will see people appearing to fight the police, fight ICE, fight others, and yet they're not. This is not as simple as, oh, it's our kids. They're standing up against this. No, it's not. There are other forces at play here, and before the show's out, I may try to download. Actually, I think I might have one where you see some of these folks literally chasing police, and the police get overwhelmed by some of these folks. But again, this is not us against us. This is other people trying to foment unrest. And we have to recognize it for what it is and realize that at some point, measures will likely need to be taken, but it is not us against us. Let me show this for just a moment. I'm going to skip forward a little bit because you actually see the police at a particular point literally get overwhelmed and have to run for it. So I just wanted to provide that vignette so people begin to understand this dynamic. It's important to recognize it for what it is, and it goes straight back to what we reported and what we heard the president briefed on, I think about a month ago. Riot Inc. Remember that term? I think you're going to hear it again and understand that it is people and forces outside the best interest of the U.S. And yes, they're using some people here. They're using some people inside NGOs and others. We just need to recognize what the game is and recognize what needs to be done about it as those things emerge.
So I have one other wrinkle I want to talk about on the Iran issue. I've been to a lot of resistance movement events, and the recent one I had last month in DC, which I attended, was they presented a lot of youth from Iran who are, as I said, are tired of this. But there was one wrinkle that may blow up your entire thoughts on Iran and what it is and what's happening there. And I'll just show this image and you make up your own mind. This is from one of the presenters. So it's not just an Islamic movement. There is a huge Christian movement in Iran blossoming, and we want to support that. So back to you.
Very interesting. A theme that we have seen begin to emerge again and again and again. Let's see. We're about ready to welcome in our guests. Do you want to take a break first, and then we'll get going?
Sure. I'll just run a quick ad, and then we'll be right back.
The wait is finally over. My towels are back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. Towels that actually work. What a concept. And that's not all. Check out our My Pillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings, regular $119.98, now only $29.88. And how about our limited edition premium My Pillows, made with Giza cotton and a designer gusset, made exclusively for you to thank you for all your support. Queens $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get My Towels for $39.98, My Pillow bed sheets only $29.88, and our limited edition My Pillow Queens $17.98 and Kings only $19.98. Quantities.
Divorce is tough, but your finances don't have to be. I'm David Cross, and I'm a certified divorce financial analyst practitioner. My job is to help you get a fair financial settlement in your divorce and to guide you to smarter money decisions. Find out how we can help you. U.S. Asset Management. It's your money and your future.
So just to highlight David Cross, our resident financial advisor, the guy to call. We can highly recommend his skill set. He's been through many bear markets, understands how to protect your portfolio, and can plan for you in retirement, death of a family member, divorce, estate issues, anything, how do you call it when you're moving on to the next generation? I forgot the word.
Inheritance, estate
planning? Succession planning, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he's the guy to talk to, David Cross at usassetmanagement.com. Back to you.
That's great. All right. Well, given all the dynamics surrounding elections, surrounding the systems, surrounding disclosures from Tulsi Gabbard and others, we thought it was high time to bring in VoterGA and their leaders, Garland and Tamara Favorito. Thank you so much for joining today.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, Bill. Happy New Year.
Yes.
Happy New Year.
Good to see y'all again. Be back with you again.
You bet. You bet. We are into it feels like we're into a new phase, doesn't it? Where there's a change in the air, as it were. There's disclosure. There are people weighing in. There are people involved in serious ways. So we wanted to bring you in and get your thoughts on, gosh, I guess the first question is, where do we stand, do you think, with folks coming in and really starting to dig into the covers on Georgia?
Things are breaking big time here in Georgia in a lot of different ways, which we can talk about on your show. And in part, thanks to one of your sponsors, David Cross. You just had on one of his cases at State Election Board has just gone viral, in the last month. We've got that going on. We have our federal lawsuit to vacate the Dominion certification. And then we were going to tell you a little story about recently being able to finally get ballots from these counties for the 2020 and 2022 election after 5 years. We finally broken some ice there. So those are some of the stories we could talk about.
Well, that sounds great. Why don't we start with that? Because so many people have heard again and again and again that the counties have been absolutely unwilling to let their ballots, the real ballots, the paper ballots, be seen.
Yeah.
So tell us what's going on there and where.
I'm gonna let Tamara tell the story. I'm just going to give you the lead in. As you know, the agency was attacking us last week, and what's interesting about this is that while they were attacking us, we were out getting ballots for the first time. We got, when I say getting ballots, I'm talking about getting actual copies of the real ballots, not the ballot images. And then we took them home and analyzed them that night. And this happened to be from Cobb County. And this was all going on while we were being attacked, which I thought was kind of an interesting story. And Tamara can fill you in a little bit more of the details because she was there for the whole thing. So.
Great.
Well, and you're right, Bill, that the counties have been very difficult. The law changed January 1 of 25 so that ballots are subject to open records requests. But we were getting the runaround from Fulton, of course, and other counties were just outrageous in what they wanted to charge. But finally, we have found a county. We're starting with Cobb County. I like naming them because they have been easy to work with. They're very reasonable in their cost. And then what we've done last week, and it'll continue for another 2 or 3 weeks, is observe them scanning the original ballots into PDF files, downloading them onto a flash drive. And that's what we're using to analyze. We have, at this point, it's just Garland and I reviewing them manually. So we've only gotten through about one precinct, but we will, when we get the entire batch, we will send them over to an image analyst who can run the results for us, and we'll be able to compare them to the results on the Secretary of State's website and see what really happened here.
And the scans are made independently of the Dominion
Yes.
voting system. So Dominion has nothing to do with the images that are being produced. So that way we'll be able to verify whether or not the system actually counted correctly. And of course, we're still looking at the 2020 general election, and we're looking at the 2022 primary that was highly questionable in the Secretary of State's race in particular, where Brad Raffensperger came out of the woodwork and managed to get more than 50% of the vote.
I think what you just said is probably quite critical. Let me make sure I understand. So the scans are not being done using Dominion equipment. They're being done with independent scanning devices. Is that right?
That's correct. And that was actually written into the law. It was passed in SB 189 in 2024 and effective January 1 of 25. They have to make them independent of the voting system, and they have to go as high as 600 DPI in order to give us the high resolution that is required.
Right.
And it took us 4 years to get that law passed, Bill. I think you and Todd know a little bit about this because we had been trying to get ballots public record in Georgia for 4 years because we've been fighting tooth and nail. And we're one of the few states that has ballots as public record now.
Well, that's good. That sets a good precedent for other states, hopefully. So in your dealings with counties, since, for example, since Ed Martin and the DOJ got involved, and since some of these other disclosures have come out, do you sense a different attitude, a different tone? Are people thinking about this going, boy, I better get the heck out of the way of this steamroller because it's coming? Is that something you're sensing?
Well, that's not true for Fulton, and that's who the DOJ has come after is Fulton.
Yeah.
And they're still fighting it.
Yeah. What's interesting, Bill, there is that all the other counties agree that ballots are public record as a result of this law. And as Tamara says, only Fulton is fighting this and trying to say that, oh no, the ballots are still under seal. They literally just filed a motion last week saying that they can't do anything because the ballot's still in the seal. Well, the seal only applied for 2 years under 21-500. And after that, there is no requirement to seal them longer than that. The judges are finally coming around. They have been not on our side for years, but now that the election is over and done, we can't go back and change it. They are now coming around and saying, well, why can't we give them the ballots? That's the state election board's authority or the people's authority. So they are all coming around. The other counties, now we're just disagreeing about the cost.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we've got to do is we've got to go back and limit the cost and limit the time it takes to produce the records. We're finding out some of the counties want months to produce the records, and then they want exorbitant costs. Like your county, Bill, Forsyth wanted $49,000 to produce the ballot, a copy of the ballots for the 2020 election. So, and so we're having to deal with them. But at least for all the other counties, we're just talking about money. And but Fulton, they're still in major cover-up mode, as Tamara's saying.
Interesting. You mentioned something that there's some of the press has been trying to go back and poke holes or somehow demean your efforts. And I wanted to, without breathing air into those latest reports, which are bogus, obviously, but I wanted to remind folks that, as time goes on, we often get to see the reality of things come forward. And so here's just a reminder for our friends at the AJC that, the Trump loyalists, this is from, I think, a year and a half ago. Trump loyalists resurrect debunked Georgian election fraud claims. Debunked. Huh. I wonder if they would call them debunked today.
Probably.
Well, they might try, but I also recall that, Trump has gone on record saying that in many cases, the legacy, the standard press, what we've called the legacy media in the past, has not been acting necessarily in the best interest of America or Americans. And that may put them in a devastating position. Here, I want to play this just for a second. This is a fairly short clip from Trump.
See, now the camera didn't show that. So for all of you at home, you're going to have to come in and watch in person. Can you imagine? It's so nasty. They're so nasty. They're so evil. They are actually the enemy of the people. They really are. It's so evil.
The enemy of the people.
Bill, I'm glad you played that because this is something that I talked with the AJC about before they published this. Their last hit piece was that they are criminally complicit in the cover-up of Fulton County if they're attacking people who are trying to get to the truth. And it's not just me. They've attacked Dr. Jan Johnston viciously, and the state election board, claiming that they were behind the backlog of cases when the backlog of cases occurred after the controversial 2020 election when none of the current members were on the board. Right. Complete fabrication, complete lie. Dr. Johnston called them out in the meeting. And in my case, the three things that they just refused, they knew, but they would not tell their readers, was one, that we are volunteers. We don't take any money from VoterGA. Two is we did win a case in the Georgia Supreme Court. They would not tell their readers that. It's just they're always trying to distort the truth, and you have to start asking, why are they doing that? And I think Trump's right. It's because they are an enemy of the people. And I explained to them before they published that if they went forward with it, because I knew they were going to do that, that I would consider them not only malicious defamation, but in complicit in a criminal conspiracy. And I copied the publisher of the AJC and the editor of the AJC on that. So it told me that when they went forward to it, I know that the publisher and the editor are behind all of these attacks on the election integrity minded people in the state of Georgia.
Yeah. I didn't pull it down for this particular segment. It's a little longer, but I do have the video of Trump. I want to say it was in 23 as well, maybe 22. He was getting ready to climb on Air Force One, and the press was asking him questions. And he talked about the fact that the folks who had perpetrated the election fraud that he was talking about at the time were, in fact, traitors. And he said, you know who else is a traitor? And he takes his finger and he points it right at the press. And he says, you're traitors for not reporting this, for hiding it. And I don't think those are, I've come to believe over the course of time that Trump doesn't make, random statements. He says things that he believes are correct. And we're getting to a point now where I think some of these folks need to do, I would say, some soul searching and think about the position that they, in fact, may actually be in. This is getting, as more is uncovered, as more is forced to be uncovered by the DOJ and others, the potential is for many people to find themselves exactly what you just described, complicit in what could be a very troubling situation. We won't foretell, and we're not attorneys, so we're not going to foretell what might come. But I've learned to listen very carefully to Trump and what he says. And, how many times have we seen, Trump was right again. So,
yeah, it's one thing to commit the original crime, but it's a whole nother level of corruption, in my view, to cover up that. They know what the truth is and they covered it up. One more example, they're trying to attack my credibility. I said, look, we can settle this right now. I have been qualified as an expert witness and have testified as an expert witness inside and outside of Georgia. That settles any credibility issue that you could possibly raise about anything else. And they explicitly withheld that from their readers. And that is why I do believe they are criminally complicit. And hopefully, maybe that will turn out to be found out before this whole thing is over and done with.
Well, there's a revolution in media happening for sure.
It is. And I think that's the reason the AJC is suffering. Their readership has gone down. I believe it was 2005, 630,000, down to a little over 115,000, both print and online today. So
zero print.
Well, zero print now as of January 1st, because they completely stopped printing.
Yeah.
So they're the ones that are suffering. I think Garland needs to just wear it as a badge of honor that they went after him. They're just trying to deflect the truth.
But I mentioned this to them when I wrote it. I knew this was coming. They interviewed me for half an hour. It went pretty well. Then they started to get in all this conspiracy stuff. And I explained that very thing to them. I said, this is why you're going out of business, out of the print business in 2 days. And you could have had an article that would have, talking about our 5-year struggle to get the ballots, it would have gone national. They would have been able to increase their digital subscribers, just like the publisher wants to do. But instead, they chose just to try to do a hit piece. They've gone from 630,000 print subscribers in about 2005 or 2006 to 0 in 2026. So 630,000 to 0 in 2026, and they don't seem to know what's wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I think they know. They're being used as a tool for someone else, and so that's the agenda. It's not truth or even making money. The money will keep coming. So that's my thought.
You mentioned something else a few minutes ago that I wanted to expand on because I think it's very timely, and I want to talk about two aspects of it. You mentioned the state election board, the SEB, and we last week published an article that built upon some comments we saw made by the chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee created by the House to look into Georgia's election practices and standards and consider changes. And unfortunately, we saw some comments coming out of the chairman, Tim Fleming, that seemed to indicate that they were focused on the SCB being the problem. Many of the comments seemed to, oh, we have to get these people under control, and there's been bombastic speeches made, and I'm thinking to myself, how could you possibly look at the progress that's been made, and any progress that's been made has come from the efforts of the SCB and the good, I'll call it the good members of the SCB, and then be poking arrows at them. And so we lit this up, but good last week. Now, what we understand is that hopefully, members of this Blue Ribbon Committee are rethinking their strategy and recognizing that going after the SCB will not work. There are too many people in Georgia that recognize where this progress is coming from, and they're not going to stand back and let a committee by any name start poking holes in it. Now, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about was the notion of what powers the SCB needs to have going forward. One of the powers that I've always thought, perhaps I was naive, I thought they had power to define audits and how they would be conducted in Georgia. It turns out, I guess that still rests with the Secretary of State. Yet what we've done in the past seems to be poorly thought through at the very least and badly executed. And it would seem that the SCB should have the power to define what an audit is, how it's done, who does it, and so forth in Georgia. What do you think?
Well, I think before I'm going to get that Tamara a chance to answer that, but I want to back up to 2 points you just made.
Sure.
We were there. Tamara and I were there for the meeting in which Tim Fleming went off on the state election board. We were appalled, and most everybody else was too. But to your point, we've heard exactly the same thing in the last week, that suddenly, after all the heat that y'all put on them, they have kind of backed off of that now, and they're focusing on SB 189 compliance, which is the QR code. So thanks to all that work, Bill, y'all, it looks like it may have paid off.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great news. Thank you.
And as far as the SCB having powers over audit, I think that is still in legislation. It's defined in the code section, the type of audits, even though we have explained over and over risk limiting audits do not work for ballot marking device systems. But where I think we're getting into difficult territory now is with this last Georgia Supreme Court ruling that narrowed the focus of agencies. It means that it's even harder for the SCB to be able to promulgate rules that clarify these Georgia code. So they're having to be very careful with how they do that.
And they changed 35 years of precedence when they made that ruling. All of the rules would have been upheld that were in question had the Supreme Court gone with their 35-year standard, which was, I think it's called DOT versus City of Atlanta, or
Right.
City of Atlanta versus DOT,
Mm-hmm.
Department of Transportation. That they changed that, and that allowed some of the rules to be upheld and others not. And that has created a problem, as Tamara said, in terms of the SCB authority now. So they're trying to walk a little bit finer line because, nobody, now that we've got this election integrity minded board, it seems like all these powers that be want to take away their power and authority. It's kind of interesting.
Isn't that
But
remarkable?
But I think where we will be focusing on as we go into this legislative session is they need more funding to hire more investigators so that they're totally independent from the Secretary of State. Now they have 2. That's not nearly enough for the state election board to be able to investigate all the complaints. So we're going to be trying to make sure they're even more independent from the Secretary of State.
You mentioned the term RLA a few minutes ago. I just want to make sure people, understand that it's, it's kind of funny. As time goes on, some of these concepts, if you just use common sense, it begins to clear things up, at least in my mind and with some of the folks that I get to talk to. The risk limiting audit is really just a sample, as I understand it. It could be a sample of precincts. It could be a sample of certain portions of the ballots. But it's the best analogy I heard was a bank auditor that I spoke to. And he said, look, here's what you're looking at. If you audit a bank, what you cannot do is walk into the bank and say, I'm going to do a complete audit, make sure this bank is healthy and is doing everything it should, it should be doing. Walk up to a teller's drawer, open the drawer, audit that drawer. And if it comes out okay, oh, well, the bank must be okay.
Especially if you get to pick the drawer.
That's right. That's right. Good point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are you a conspiracy theorist, Todd? You can't do it that way, and yet they try to make it sound as if, oh yes, it's got perfect. It's like taking a spoonful of soup. If the soup tastes good in that spoonful, the rest of the soup will be right. It's not how it works. And so,
plus on top of that, all the time is spent randomly selecting these ballots to audit. If you have a close race, you're going to have to pick almost all the ballots. So why do you want to spend 10 times more time randomly selecting the ballots than just hand counting the whole race?
Right.
To your point.
So, Todd, did you have another question? I kind of interrupted you. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say this is the only thing. Trump just posted this. In regard to everything we're talking about soon. So we will see. We will see what happens.
It has been. I kind of wanted to get your thoughts too, both of you, please. One of the things we've noted over the last few days is that there have been some pretty interesting comms, and they seem to be getting communications, and they seem to be getting even more direct by the day. The Department of Labor put out, I don't have it with us at the moment, but we showed it in the last day or two, put out a meme saying, trust the plan. And that's a well-known Q post it's appeared, I believe, in 35 different Q posts. Mm. And yet it comes out from the Department of Labor. And of course, Trump himself has brought out a number of these things, but they seem to be getting a deeper sense of timeliness, a deeper sense of urgency, especially as things like, Tina Peters and her situation continues to fester. I was very fortunate to be able to speak with Peter Tickton a couple of weeks ago, and to listen to Mr. Tickton's analysis of the situation in Colorado. It just becomes so egregious what's being done, and yet it's the same. It feels like the same kind of thing we're seeing in Fulton County. We will cover this up no matter what we have to do. And at some point, we come to a point of no return where things have to happen in I'll call it a more dramatic way, perhaps. And what that means, I don't know that any of us knows that as we sit here today. But
well, I think that's right, Bill. And I think we're seeing it, especially on the election front. President Trump is posting more and more and reposting videos and comments of the fraud that we know have been out there for a long time. And I think he's showing us that he's focused on it. He's doing the same thing with Tina. He's constantly posting like free Tina Peters now. And we've seen that Governor Polis has in fact blinked. He gave a CBS interview last week, I believe it was Friday, acknowledging that her sentence was harsh and that it should be reviewed because she's elderly. So I think they're feeling the pressure. So I think we're going to see something happen here pretty quickly.
Yeah, and the most important thing, I think, for the readers to know, the listeners to know today, and some of the people, even on our side, don't understand the constitutional pardon power. The Constitution only limits presidential pardon power for cases of impeachment. There is no other limitation on the constitutional power to pardon. And that means all state it doesn't matter whether it's a state offense or not. We keep hearing this bogus argument that the president doesn't have authority to pardon for state crimes. There's never been a case in American history that has upheld that theory. Never, ever. A presidential pardon has always been, upheld, again, with the limitation of impeachment. Colorado's in a really difficult spot right now, and I would love to see if we can extract Maduro. I don't see why we can't extract Tina Peters.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right.
We can arrest people in Venezuela, but not anyone in the U.S. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and the other thing, and I'll play this just briefly too. The other thing that happens is when people see the right thing happening, the folks that have had to suffer through it are the first to stand up and say, we applaud this. There was an interesting little protest. It's not really a protest; it's a celebration, I guess, in Venezuela. Let me just show this briefly.
Donald Trump versus Pico Maduro.
And so they're applauding Trump and his ability to take Maduro out and making fun of the whole situation. God bless him,
Boxing match.
Yeah.
And so, so that's what happens. And I think the same thing is going to happen. There will be millions across this country that are going to applaud when this situation with Tina gets resolved. But more importantly, many have identified that what she protected, the data that is available because she refused to relinquish it back to the people that wanted to hide it, will make a massive change and may in fact be the Rosetta Stone to uncovering how at least some of this was done. I'm hearing that we may learn of multiple ways of playing this game, but I did not realize earlier that a number of the clerks across Arizona had made similar copies and similar backups to protect their data, yet everybody but her, when they were threatened, relinquished their copies back and said, "Oh no, I'm sorry, we didn't mean to do that." And I understand why people get afraid, but God bless her. Tina was the one to stand up and say, I don't care. I'm not afraid, and I'm going to stand by what is right. And she, in fact, was protecting the ballots as is commanded by federal law.
Right.
So acting under and in concert with federal law. I don't have the number in front of me, but
I got the number, 52 USC 20701.
Thank you very much.
Federal statute that we use here in Georgia a lot that she actually was upholding. And she found out, Bill, that because she took the before and after image, they found out that 29,000 Dominion files were deleted, and all the previous election projects. There's no reason to delete previous election data, but it deleted those, and that includes the audit logs that were supposed to have been preserved for 2 years. So they immediately turned around and wiped out all the audit logs. Clear violation of federal law. She is a federal whistleblower. The state is covering up, and we even did in our last press conference, we pointed out that the Colorado Clerks Association is involved in this grand conspiracy. The head of that was his wife works for Dominion, and he was putting out all this stuff, claiming that he represented all of the Colorado clerks. There's 64 counties in Colorado. And in reality, we did open records request, and we found out when he tried to debunk the Mesa County reports that Tina had put out there, he had 0 clerks on either one of the 2 reports that had approved or agreed of what he was putting out on behalf of all the Colorado County clerks. Mm-hmm. So that is another issue that they've got to deal with. In fact, we called for an investigation, a federal investigation of Matt Crane, who is the executive director of the CCCA, and he testified against Tina Peters at her sentencing hearing.
Yeah,
amazing.
Well, once again, thank you for not just being with us today, but all the work that you've put forth for, a couple of decades or more. So thank you for that. Thank you especially for all the work that appears to be helping move us toward a time when we might be able to see real truth for a change. So thank you for all of that.
Thanks, guys.
We will look
Thank
forward
you,
to seeing you
Dale.
again
Thank you,
soon.
Todd. Keep up the great work. We appreciate you.
Very
Bye-bye.
kind. All right, Mr. Wood.
I don't have anything else. That's about it for today.
Okay.
I'll be back on the skiff tomorrow. I'm scheduled to be on Bannon first thing at 10. We'll probably simulcast that on the skiff 10 to noon, Monday through Friday. We'll be talking about the Arsenal of Freedom tour with Secretary Hegseth.
Okay, very good. All right. We will be back Wednesday at 7 p.m. or earlier if there's something that absolutely won't wait. And we appreciate you being with us. Thanks so much.